So it happened about 6 weeks ago. We were a group of 6 accomplished women gathered in a plush restaurant, collected to brainstorm a meaningful project. One that would allow us to leverage our collective experience, resources for greater societal impact. The facilitator, a dear friend, she kicked us off by saying, "Ladies, we're all extremely successful. We've all learned much. Now, as we're poised to enter that next phase of our lives and hang up our boots, let's all come together to give back and uplift those who can benefit from our journeys." So I was vibing really deep with this group. They were so my tribe. But then that hit a different chord. Have I had a successful career trajectory? Yes. Am I all for giving back? Oh, yes. Do I have skills and mentorship that are transferable? Yes. Am I racing towards 50? Sadly, yes. But am I ready to hang up my boots? No. In fact, we're just getting started on version 3.0. So version 1.0 was this successful corporate leader, a role I thrived in until I accidentally hit pause and then intentionally converted that into a creator. Version 2.0 was the social media creator, the curator of women empowerment events, the empowerment walk, breaking barriers, smashing stereotypes. A chapter I can call successful by my own standards. But now, as I poise and pivot to launch into version 3.0, which is to transform my lifelong passion and love for mentoring and public speaking into a career, I'm only just starting. And I'm here for the long haul. So here's to Midlife and here's to version 3.0. But if you all look around yourselves, I am not an anomaly. In fact, we're surrounded by innumerable women in their midlife who are crushing it, breaking barriers, creating change, living their best life yet. And allow me today to introduce you to some such narrative changers and their inspirational midlife mantras from my own journey. So let us meet Shirley, and she embodies Midlife Tribe Mantra 1, rejecting toxic relationships and reclaiming self-love and happiness. So when Shirley came to me seeking coaching, she was a hot mess, wallowing in abjectly low self-esteem, just replete with self-loathe. She was torpedoed in this damaging relationship and drowning in unhappiness. She was made to feel like everything was her fault and her happiness comes last, if at all. Until she made up her mind to rebuild herself, reclaim her self-love, and nurture her inner wellness. Let me ask all of you a question. Who wants to be in a loving relationship with their partner where you're loved, respected, cared for? Who wants that? Come on! Whether you have it or not, who wants that? Right? Everybody. So, question 2. Who here is presently in a similar relationship full of love, respect, dignity with your own self? Awesome, that's really reassuring to see. And isn't that simply as straightforward as that? That if we cannot provide that same quality of love, respect, dignity, stability, emotional, financial, mental, right, to our own self, if we cannot find ourselves worthy of that, what are the chances that we'll actually find someone who's worthwhile and will be willing to provide all of that to us? Right? So Shirley, in this process of working on herself and finding her happiness, what she realized was that once she raises her frequency to a level where she is content, thriving, joyful, then chances of her attracting someone who's a good match, who's deserving of her, are high. And even if that does not happen, in the process, she's hit the gold mine, jackpot, by establishing and discovering a fulfilling, enriching, loving relationship with her own self. So you might ask, how did Shirley go about building herself, right? She decided it was time to stop relegating her career, her degrees, her academician role to the back burner on someone else's whims and fancies. She began thriving in her job as an assistant professor, actively participating in campus life, leading extracurricular activities, and reuniting with the love of her life, the first love, dancing. And what Shirley discovered in midlife was that once you stop scavenging, soliciting, scraping for droplets of love from someone else, you discover that the very torrents of self-love exist within you. And you have the keys to those floodgates. And self-love is one dance that does not take two to tango. One is enough. You are enough. So she began prioritizing her happiness unapologetically, and she realized that in order to have meaningful, happy relationships outside, one must put on the oxygen mask of self-love first. Let's meet Payal, who embodies Midlife TEDxFIIB mantra number 2, self-awareness is the path to true leadership. So Payal is a PhD. She's a cancer researcher in non-profit corporate America. And Payal came to me in this mad rush, savage desire, burning ambition. She wanted to simply expedite her journey to leadership, master every executive principle, and make her way, accelerate her way to the titles and roles that she coveted and aspired for. My approach with Payal was counterintuitive. As opposed to acceleration, I asked her to slow down. My suggestion was self-reflect, take a pause. Let's look within. Let's review personal growth over professional. She was appalled. Coach, I've come to you desperately seeking this heady concoction of leadership 101 that you will simply mastermind for me, and I'm going to chug it down. And you are asking me to take slow sips on self-reflection and to pause and breathe. But perplexed as she was, I chose to trust the process. And together, we started reviewing and focusing on Payal, the mother, Payal, the neighbor, Payal, the co-worker, and what qualities was she bringing with herself to each role. How authentic was she in her relationships? How active was she when she listened? Was she listening actively or simply responding reactively? How was she fostering trust in those relationships? And once she went within, she truly began to blossom. It was a different version of Payal that was always there, that was always inherent, but now it got that nourishment and it had the opportunity to blossom. And what Payal realized through this transformation and through this self-work is that it's never too late and you're never too seasoned or too rushed to slow down, unlearn, relearn, and reinvent yourself. And sometimes in this mad rush to greatness, what truly stands between greatness and us is us. And to grow as a person is to grow as a leader. To excel in followership is to be able to master leadership. Let us now meet Lee, who embodies Midlife TEDxFIIB mantra number 3, to see the change, just be the change. So Lee Hill is a force unto herself, She is this inferno of resilience and vision, and she works tirelessly for everyone who is voiceless in our communities, people with disabilities, people of color, sadly, women and children, the LGBTQ. If you feel like you're someone who ain't got a voice, then Lee is the most amplified megaphone you could ever encounter. So I met Lee through networking, and she quickly became a mentor to me. And from her, what I am learning is the art of authentic, uninhibited collaboration amongst women. And something truly meaningful, which is channeling negative emotions, experiences, and trauma into something that is so powerful and that benefits the greater good. So let me walk you through Lee's story. Her life wasn't always just as grand and as bombastic as that. In fact, her early years were marred with trauma, turmoil. She grew up in an unsafe and unloving house. She was scarred by sexual abuse, domestic violence, especially once her dad moved out. And as I narrate this, you might feel a twinge of sympathy for Lee, but not me. Fighting back in body and spirit, she realized, was the only recourse. And she chose, even at that young age, that she would not take recourse to self-damage and self-pity. In fact, she would become a resource of enablement for others. And fast forward to Midlife, Lee has created this amazing platform of advocacy for all historically excluded communities. And she is there doing amazing things in the community and an inspiration to so many. What Lee realized in Midlife is that before we go and fight the system, we must fight our own abject inaction and our own action. And you know what? In the famous words of Niecy Nash, they don't call it them esteem or mama esteem. They call it self-esteem for a reason. Because this is something you give yourself, right? So what Lee realized is that once you actualize self-esteem, that's not where the buck stops. In fact, that's where the journey begins. We're only getting started. And then our lived experiences, pain, suffering, they crescendo into a transformation that roars, that creates change, that uplifts, and that paves the path for those behind us. She's amazing. And now, let me introduce you to Mua. Midlife Thrive Mantra 4, which is Log kya kahenge? But wait a sec. What the heck? Live life, queen size. So when I began content creation in midlife, I was traumatized, terrorized by other people's perception, their whispers, their judgment of me, right? Sharing my mind felt like jumping off a cliff. Creating a post felt like simply bearing my soul. And then my dear, amazing, awesome husband's voice came like a game changer. What he said to me is, be like lightning. Lightning does not second guess itself. It's only focused on movement. And that movement creates the path. Don't worry about destination. Just focus on movement. So the talkers talked, the whisperers whispered, the trollers trolled. But I had made up my mind that my vulnerability was not going to be my weakness. It was going to be my superpower. It was going to be what would help me transform fear into fire and self-doubt into unfettered determination. I understood in midlife that people treat you the way you let them treat you. And people torment your mind only if you give them access to it. And I refuse that. I also discovered that this is the perfect launch pad to really go beyond our skill set and figure out who it is that we want to be. So in my case, I was very fulfilled in that corporate role, mentoring my teams, delivering user stories and data stories. But when I explored and went deeper across multi-dimensional talents that I have, and I tried to see how I could expand them across interdisciplinary domains, it became evident that a coach is who I wanted to be. And I wanted to work with people to change their personal stories. I wanted to work with organizations, not just to deliver on capability and efficiency projects, but to enhance their biggest asset, their people, to create more synergized, well-working, productive, mentally healthier teams that harbor inner wellness and who actually found joy in coming to work every single day. So for me, midlife has been a time where I finally understood who I want to be when I grow up. And it's time to grow up. And I've understood that over procrastination, my choice is to focus on action. And I am driven by passion, perseverance over people pleasing. Look, the whole entire timeless truth bomb is that it's never too late. You are never too old to work on yourself, to grow, to chase your dreams. And no matter what Hollywood, Bollywood feed into us, the greatest love story is made up by the self. It starts with self-love, self-growth, self-esteem. My dear friend was so right. In this phase of life, let's give back as though it's the biggest style statement. Let's love ourselves as though it's the greatest love story. Let's work on ourselves and reinvent ourselves as though it's the latest trend. And if you want to see the change, then make the damn change. And while you're at it, don't give a damn. So why hang up your boots when you can tread new territory, right? Why give up when you can give it your all? And it doesn't matter where you've been and what you've lost. What matters is what you've learned and where you're headed. And today, I'm headed here from halfway across the world to hopefully shatter this age-old myth about midlife. It's not game over. Not game over. It is game on, baby. Welcome to midlife. Welcome to your best life.